No, everybody, your pretty little eyes are not deceiving you. We have a movie night something or other, an episode. I'm pretty sure I'm going to call it episode 18. Is that what we were on? I think that's what we were on. Hold on, click on videos. Scroll down real quick. Yes, because that's 17 right there. Memories of a murder. Of murder. It's not memories of murderers. I always fucked up the name of that one. Forgive me. Forgive me, chat. But here we are, back again. Continuing on. We've got quite a few movies to talk about because I was gone for 3 months. Went to New Zealand for 3 months for mysterious purposes you may never find out about. And I actually watched a decent amount of movies here. We don't have a neat little image in our small little reactive thing. We're in a browser again. The reactive image thing is in the corner. Have a look. He's just like right here. Just like we do on stream sometimes. But we've got quite a few to talk about. How the fuck do you get rid of these shitty fucking images here? What is this? The Wall? A fucking ad here? Kill yourself. Get the fuck off my screen. I don't know why. It doesn't happen on my fucking goddamn PC, I don't think. But I'm just giving... There's got to be an X here somewhere, but I can't find it. So fuck you and fuck me too. It's staying, apparently. Oh, then it drops down to a small one. Thank you. Piece of fucking shit. But... we watched a lot of movies, you know. We might have watched more in these 3 months of the year than in the rest of the whole entire year. If you'd been keeping up with my letterbox this whole time, you'd be able to see. Here are the variety of movies we'll be covering today, except for this Bill Wart's fucking YouTube video I put in here because I wanted to boost my numbers, you know. Sometimes letterbox is an old ego trip, you know what I mean. And I got 5 pages of movies on here, you know. I'm not just fucking around out here. Anyhow, there's really not going to be much of a structure to this. I'm going to go through them in order because I have them tracked in order because of when I added them. I went to the theater sometimes. I'll point out when I did and when I didn't, etc., etc. And we'll have a little fun time. Then maybe the singular movie nights will pop up for a little while before I go back to New Zealand in early February. Only like a month left, so, you know. Ideally, maybe 4 movie nights. I don't know. I like watching movies now, if you haven't noticed. Look at all these ones. Movie night might hinder the movie watching because I'll be like, oh, I got to record a fucking thing every time I want to goddamn watch a movie. That's no good. I think Saltburn will probably be the next one, but we'll see. So, let's start off with old Knives Out. I guess we're spoiling all of our ratings here. I was arguing with people when I first watched Knives Out because I'm like, this is shit! 3.5 stars. And people are like, no, it's not shit. If you scroll down here, I think, what do we got? This Hack Fraud Miller with 4.5 stars. I think Elite RE's over here somewhere with a big score. He usually doesn't have an image, so he's easy to see. But I can't. 16 watched it. Not all 16 are displayed here, I don't think. If we click on this. Yeah, look at Elite RE, 5 stars. What a coward pussy bitch. I watched this movie on the plane over there. So, big movie, not big movie, big tentpole moment. Great, we got Pizza Hut over here with that next. You know, I just love fucking advertisements. Anyway, what was wrong with Knives Out? Why is it only 3.5 stars? I think there are unique elements to Knives Out that are cool. Like the sort of interviewing character introduction segment at the beginning was cool and interesting with all the characters, with the daughter and the son and the thingy and the thingy. I feel like Marilyn, Anna Diarmas or whatever her name is, you know, from Blonde, the greatest movie we ever covered on Movie Night, top 10 movie of all time. She sucks in this. She's boring, and she is like probably the main character. Daniel Craig is very good in both of these. Our last movie is Glass Onion, so we'll circle back to this. There is Now, these are the only 2 Rian Johnson movies I think I've seen, because I haven't seen The Last Jedi, and I haven't seen Looper, and I can't remember what else he did. As takes drink. Two sort of hallmarks about his movies is sort of the almost internet humor he has that I think falls flat a lot of the time, because it's like a vague glare of sort of internet humor, of topical humor, but it feels slightly off because it feels like he doesn't fully get it, or he might be too old. I feel like I felt this way about the Fortnite gag in is it an Endgame? Yeah, it must be, because Fat Thor's in it. Where it's like, oh, they kind of wanted to do that because they thought it would be cool, but they didn't really get it, and the way the characters are sort of written around that scene, like the way they use certain words or their inflection or something shows that they don't entirely get it, or the way they get it is like out of date by now. There was a lot of this in both Knives Out movies, like the like dude's son or whatever being like an alt-right troll or something could have been funny, but it's so surface level that it's like of somebody who's clearly like read an article about it but hasn't ever like interacted with it or actually seen it. There are a lot of little humor things like that. Like, I assume there was probably a lot with the other like teenager, the girl. I just can't recall off the top of my head because I watched this movie like 3 months ago, more than 3 months ago, unironically. So that is because sometimes it works and then sometimes it's grating. It's like a lot of the COVID humor in Glass Onion. Or like when Among Us is in it or whatever, and there's jokes about him, Daniel Craig's character being the Benoit Blanc. I remember the name, right? No biggie, I'm just flexing over here. Like, he's supposed to be a really good detective, but he's not, and it's like Lamau Among Us, and it's like, pretty sure that's like a year and a half too late, plus we're not really doing anything clever with it. It's just sort of like a, remember the pandemic best hits, like what everybody thought, or the topical things of the time, but not really true. I don't know, it's weird. I feel like the plot in this movie is kind of weak sauce. Obviously there's all the little detective bits and everything sort of comes back into play, but I feel like I've seen a million movies like that, and so that didn't impress me too much. I feel like, I guess the locations were pretty meek. Like, the point, I guess the mystery point for both movies is that it's the most obvious guy. Like, it's the first guy you think, and then it kind of does a little bit to make you maybe think it's not them, but then it just comes around back to being them. Like, it ends up being Chris Evans in this one, spoiler alert. And I don't know, it doesn't make for too interesting a twist. When the mystery stuff does all come together, it is kind of interesting and fascinating. I don't know, there's just something missing for it to have made any sort of big impact on me. And I guess I thought it was going to be cleverer than it was. And that sort of was what I was looking for going in, I think. A funny thing is, Knives Out was actually, the movie night started because I wanted to watch Knives Out. And then I like shifted very quickly to Blonde as the first one because it was on my Twitter feed at the time, and I was like, oh, Knives Out will be like movie night too. And it's not until now that we're actually talking about it. I wonder how differently our lives would have been if we started off with shit Knives Out instead of Blonde, the greatest movie ever made, as our first movie nights. I know outside of that, Daniel Craig is very good. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything. But he has a lot of charisma and stuff. And it's good, and it's fun to watch. I'm just trying to look over here, like the dude from Boardwalk Empire being that dude. He kind of gets typecasted as that role. The old dude wasn't too interesting either. The family drama ended up not being that interesting, I guess. It was obviously my first movie experience on a plane. I think it was okay. Like, it getting interrupted for flight announcements or whatever is a little annoying. But because the New Zealand flight is only like 3.5 hours, I basically just watched this movie and then was there. So this movie has a 4. This doubles Blonde score. Unbelievable. I'm disgusted. Michael Shannon is the Boardwalk Empire dude's name. But yeah. Knives Out, 3.5 stars, wasn't too impressive. I think that's really all I got to say about Knives Out. At least I didn't really look at anything to jog my memory about anything specific. there were knives, and it comes into play at the end, and the vomiting thing had a payoff and everything. Oh, there was a moment I remember now where I thought that that Marilyn was the bad guy. It's one of the times she vomits, and I was like, oh, that means she was lying about the thing, which means that she's actually the killer or something. And that's for a second there, I thought the movie was really clever, but it wasn't actually doing that. She was just really earnest. And I guess that is a cute little convenient character thing that I do like, is that, she'll vomit if she's telling the truth. So if she's not telling the truth, so you always know that she's telling the truth. Sort of a great conceit for a character, especially in a detective story. But they sort of get around it and like throw it out the window anyway, because she like will lie and then cover up the vomit so that Daniel Craig doesn't see her. I think she does that in the car at some point. And I was like, well, kind of just threw away the cleverest thing you wrote into the thing. That she would be forced by this funny little narrative quirk to always tell the truth. When deception is rife in these stories. I was like, well, that's not too clever. But anyway, that's Knives Out. 3.5 stars, it was okay. Then we got Perfect Blue. I spent a lot of time shitting on Knives Out to like Ari and Miller and stuff. I also spent a lot of time shitting on Perfect Blue to Ari because he really liked this movie. And I think it's just kinda okay. 4 stars, of course. It looks very pretty. It's shot very well. The 90s anime aesthetic, obviously, is like my favorite aestheticist Everest. So seeing a lot of very detailed scapes and shit in that. I think this is more so true of me like a year ago and preceding that, where I would always say I'm into super trippy stuff. Like that's part of the reason why I like Blonde, I would say. I feel like I've increasingly fallen off that bandwagon, because obviously Perfect Blue is a lot of not dream sequences, but sort of metaphorical sequences where it's abstract and you can't really tell what's happening or not, or what's true or what's not. But it really didn't engage me at all in the movie. There's certain things that I like. I feel like I like the beginning of the movie a lot, when she's transitioning out of her old job, and then she's like the scene where she's acting at the beginning and they get the first piece of like exploding mail or something to try and kill her. That was cool. I have fond memories of that for whatever reason. But increasingly as it devolved, it's another one where it's very like on the nose, like, well, I guess it's not, but the twist that it's her manager in the end, like, I kind of hate it. Like, I remember, and I think I talked to Ari about this, where I was like, thinking about her, I was like, this is a 90s movie, and she's kind of chubby, and she's in an anime movie, and like, she's not the evil, ugly bad guy. She just kind of looks okay. And I was like, oh, this is great plus-size representation. And usually I wouldn't be on the bandwagon of being too directly or emotionally invested in representation like that. But I remember reminding myself multiple times, I'm like, that's kind of unique to this movie. I'm trying to find something unique to like, and that's something I liked. And then it turns out they portray her in the end as the ugly, fat, jealous girl that hates the skinny pop idol. And I was like, well, this movie fucking sucks. And that's honestly the biggest emotional investment I think I had in this whole entire movie. I don't know. I still feel bad taking it down from like, is it a 3.5-star movie? I really didn't like this movie that much. Like, there's nothing that stood out to me. The stalker dude, I thought part of the twist was that he was actually not, and that was another thing of like, oh, we're judging the really ugly dude to be the bad guy. And shaking your finger in your face, like, you shouldn't do that. That's just a silly, like, media convention to make you dislike ugly people and like the pretty people. But then I think he was also bad in the end too, and he actually was trying to kill her, and it was sort of a duo trying to fuck with her. I guess it's kind of up to interpretation. I just don't really care to interpret it because it was boring. So yeah. And then there are a lot of generic beats like that, like the rape scene being portrayed like traumatizingly, and then it coming back to actually traumatize her when she's on that soundstage again towards the end, and the dude's actually trying to rape her. I'm like, this is like generic sort of investment type shit. Like, oh no, this is like makes you feel viscerally bad because it's obvious, but it's sort of all cloaked in bad preconceptions that, like, I'm more interested in movies that understand that and then iterate on that. Like, it's like, there's some layer 2 shit, and we're trying to be on some layer 3 shit. It's really layer 1 shit, actually. But anyway. Do I have much more to say about Perfect Blue? Look at all these losers like in this movie. Bunch of fucking losers. Look at the old Digi bro. Always got the best opinions on everything. Even YMS only gave it 3.5. Trying to jog my memory by reading things. Apparently there's a scene in Requiem of a Dream of her in the bath that's just like this one. That's crazy. That's another thing I know about this movie. It looks very pretty. It kind of soured me on other Satoshi Kon movies because everybody hypes him up as being the best. Then there was like Paprika or something that Elite Ari also watched in the same digest where he did Perfect Blue and had no idea they were by the same director because he's a media illiterate fuck. And Paprika has the Berserk music, so maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I think Tokyo Godfathers is the next one after this, right? Because we got 97, 2003, 2006. Oh no, we got Millennium Actress. Now that's a cool name. Paranoia Agent is a series, I'm pretty sure. But old Satoshi Kon, what the fuck? Perfect Blue is looking pretty. Its ideas I didn't find too interesting, I guess. And I guess that's all I got to say about that. Then we've got Polite Society. Probably, almost certainly. Let's bump it up to 5 stars. No, we can't. The best movie, I think, from the lot. I love this movie. I wanted to on the plane ride back. I thought it would be a cute little bookending thing to watch Glass Onion on the plane, but it wasn't on the fucking thing. Only the original Knives Out was. So I watched Glass Onion after I got home. That's not to say that Polite Society, I watched for the first time on the plane ride back. I just watched it for a second time on the plane ride back. So this is the only one of these movies that I've seen twice and is the second most recent one. I also watched it very early. I got this recommended to me as if it was personalized. There's a Yara Zaid video about this movie. And it's pretty fucking sick. And I was like, yeah, I do want to watch that. So I did. And I thought it was fucking sick. Look, there's her 5-star review. She will do what I am too cowardly to do, which is give it 5 stars. Look at this 3.6 fucking rating. These fucking morons on Letterboxd, a bunch of fucking mongoloid idiots. I did read that Innuendo Studios review too. Where do we start with Polite Society? It's a story about 2 sisters. One sister wants to go to art school. One sister wants to become a stunt woman. But they are from a Pakistani family, I think. Right? I'm pretty sure. I'm hoping so. I am not racist. I know. But anyway. And they're supposed to all be doctors or whatever, and they got strict parents, but the parents are kind of funny with it. It's very much a comedy. It's a British comedy too, so it's funny. I think all the best movies we're going to cover today are British. So, these fucking Americans, let's get rid of them, kill them all. We don't need them for movies anymore. We got the British. We never needed them, in fact. When have the Americans ever made a good movie? But then the art school sister, the older one, drops out, and then she falls in love with a dude and wants to get married. The dude's a doctor. That's a funny joke recurringly. And we got to stop them from getting married because traditionalism is terrible. But also, the dude, twist, spoiler alert, the dude that she's fallen in love with is actually a secret evil bad guy, and he's trying to, like, rebirth his mother through their potential child because her womb is so good. It's a whole fucking thing. The mother is also the main antagonist. She's like wants to be reborn because she wants to get a chance at the life she never had because she was forced to become a mother. It's got traditionalism themes and stuff. Marriage bad, patriarchy bad is what we say, Just listen to the Bread Tubers, as I say in my tweet. They've got all the best movie recommendations. The action in the movie I've heard people criticize a little bit because it's very hokey, but that's like part of the whole appeal and it's great. The only reason it isn't 5 stars is that some of the comedy, I think, Oh no, it's going to hit me with the Patreon thing. Kill yourself. What was I saying? Fuck, I completely forgot. It was after the fighting. Oh, there's some dialogue that I think, especially at the beginning, that doesn't land. Now, this movie is going to make or break on you on whether or not you like the dialogue or you just think it's like cringe, because it is sort of, I guess the word would be, or the phrase would be, woman-centric comedy. I liked it. I feel like a lot of people would meme on it and say it's terrible. Like if, like, a certain side of YouTube got a hold of this movie, they would think it was the absolute worst. Especially with when I was talking about all this fucking anti-traditionalist shit that is evidently in the movie about not getting married, etc., etc. You can never get rid of ads. They will always follow you. Remember that South Park season? Crazy. I know everything about this movie is great. I love it minute to minute. The younger sister, who is the protagonist, her and her friends are great. The one bully character that comes back to be like the hero in the end is great. The movie's like segmented into 5 sort of acts or parts, I guess. I can't remember what they are. Is it because they come up as literal big subtitles? I can't remember. It says Act 1, Act 2, or Part 1, Part 2. That was cute. But yeah, it sort of develops into a heist movie at the end where they're trying to kidnap the sister who doesn't realize she's in danger and get her out, and they chloroform her and then escape, and then she realizes what's happening and they fight together. The ending sequence is really good. There's a dance sequence that's also really good. It's fucking sick, bro. I think it's great. It's the best movie I watched in the 3-month period. I watched it twice and loved it both times. I don't know how further to sum up the appeal. I don't know, it's just sort of like the younger teenage sister doing some crazy shit, and then it turns out she was right all along. I guess through the first 2 acts of the movie, by the end of the second act, you know. But it's unsure whether or not the younger sister is just paranoid and she just can't get over the fact that her sister's going to get married and then leave, like they're going to go to Singapore or whatever, and she's like broken up about that and she's kind of crazy and the guy is actually good for her, but then in the end, fuck it. Guy's bad, men are evil. I love it. 5 stars. Let's go. This director has like a TV show that's like only 8 episodes. It seems to be similar in sort of tone and comedy that I think I could watch at some point, but I think it's called Lady Parts, right? I don't know. Pretty good. I liked Polite Society a lot. Probably my favorite movie I consumed in 2023, besides The Crucible, which was a rewatch, and that's not fair because it's The Crucible. Next up, we got Killers of the Flower Moon, that also has 4.5 stars. Crazy. I saw this one in a movie theater. I don't go to movie theaters very often, but I went about 4 times when I was in New Zealand, so that's pretty cool. Going to the movie theater is pretty cool. Who knew? This movie is absurdly long, and the best thing about the movie is that I didn't feel that it was very long at all. That was sort of the main praise I had for it. This was 4 stars for a long time, and then I think the other day when I was thinking about making this video, I was briefly looking over all my ratings and shit, and I'm like, oh, it's probably like 4.5. Let's do that. Obviously, his most recent film before this, well, his like feature film, I think he did a documentary in between about some woman, I forget, was The Irishman, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Similarly, very long. People like to complain about its length. Every second of The Irishman is great. Again, one of my favorite movies ever. So I kind of went in with that expectation, which I think did hamper my viewing of the movie. Because it ain't no Irishman. I think that's what I said in my media thread. It is pretty cool, though. 4.5 stars cool. Leo's character in this is interesting. I was going to liken him to the Wolf of Wall Street one. Not because he's similarly evil, but because they're both kind of stupid. But then I'm like, the Wolf of Wall Street one isn't that stupid. Leo's a very stupid guy in this. Like, he's kind of cunning, although I guess not really. But he's just, a lot of things go over his head. But he's not a complete ditz, which I think is interesting, because he'll be like sarcastic and self-aware in some points. Leo's character is very interesting in this. Lily Gladstone's character, Molly, that's right. Everybody's harping on her to get an Oscar for this. I thought she was pretty good, I guess. A lot of torture porn with her. She's getting, she gets married to a dude that, well, maybe loves her, but is also killing her entire family out from underneath her. And she just gets the news, like, every 30 minutes in the movie that one of her sisters is dead, or her mother is dead, or her first husband is dead, and it's just everybody around her is dying, and then one of her kids dies at the end, and then she's getting drugged out. It's just, like, miserable for this woman. Which I guess is kind of the point. A lot of the praise heaped on this film is about the representation of the Osage people in this, which is the Indian tribe. If you don't know nothing about this, you fucking moron. Read the fucking goddamn thing that's on screen. My goodness gracious me. What was I just saying before my little funny gag there? A lot of praise on the representation of this. Apparently there was a version of this film that was focused more about the FBI and the formations of that. But then it became more about the actual Osage people, and about the character that Leo plays in this. And I think that was probably for the best. I don't know. But anyway. I should have maybe made some notes about some of these movies beforehand, because I'm like, yeah, and then that happened. That was a really cool shot of fire with a little, like, filter over it. That was really, really cool. Lots of people dying, lots of drama, lots of stupid people doing stupid things. Then they all get caught at the end. It very much follows sort of the Scorsese, like, come from nothing, rise, do some shady shit, fall, get arrested, go to trial type formula. Which is a cool formula that I still like and would still watch more of. And I'm sure there is a bunch more of it that I haven't actually seen. I did watch that Taylor J. Williamson video, whatever that YouTuber's name is, who I used to not like because he said bad things about Blonde one time, where he had this long video about how dissecting the certain parts of Martin Scorsese's career, and how The Irishman and Silence, which is a movie I hadn't even heard of, that is on the agenda very soon. Andrew Garfield's in it. I love Andrew Garfield. So Silence, The Irishman, and Killers of the Flower Moon, which have all come out like 3 years apart, basically. And have been his most recent movies are sort of all combinations of his other types of movies, where some are those big gangster hits that I was just talking about with the sort of rise and flow. And then I know he has a lot of films about religion, though I don't think I've actually watched any of them. And how these three movies are all sort of like combinations of those different formulas that he has, which I thought was an interesting point, and you kind of do see that in the movie. I like the aesthetic of the 20s. I've seen Boardwalk Empire. I understand everything about the 20s. So that was cool. And so I know a little bit about the formation of the FBI too. You know, I'm pretty fucking smart. There's that Hoover dude, who I think is mentioned in here at some point. I'm like, oh my god, that's like an MCU character I know from that other thing that Martin Scorsese also worked on, Boardwalk Empire. Crazy. I know there's like apparently one of the, like the lawyer character, people are mad about him, not his like performance not fitting in, that I don't even remember or didn't even notice, so that's fake news. Was it Brendan Fraser? I feel like Bacon told me about this, and I was like, I don't fucking know. Bill Smith, we love him. Fuck him. I feel like I'm out of things to say. Killers of the Flower Moon was pretty good. There's a lot of Martin Scorsese goodness in there. It is crazy sort of following Leo throughout the movie. He's a fucking idiot wild man. And obviously, another big thing about this movie is it's these two in a Scorsese movie together, which I don't think had ever happened before. And it's Scorsese's two dudes. There's the young one, Leo, and the old one, oh my god, Robert De Niro For a second, I was like, am I going to have to scroll down to remember? We both do a good job. These white people, they're pretty bad, huh? That's the final note on Killers of the Flower Moon, I think. Now we're in for more disappointment. We got Past Lives. This movie was supposed to be good. I nearly went to a theater to see this, but the times were always bad. So I watched it in a car. So that was pretty cool. But no, this was actually a funny anecdote. Do I want to get into that on here? I don't know. I told a girl that I wanted to watch this movie. And then one time, she surprised me being like, oh, I already downloaded it. Well, it was still in the theater. So I didn't know she could do that. But she did, and then we watched it together. She didn't care for it too much. But neither did I, really. Another funny anecdote from that is that we were watching it on her iPad, and she had like that night thing you can do on where like everything on your screen when it turns to night is tinted yellow. And so for the first like 10 minutes of the movie, I thought we were doing some really interesting like filter thing with the color yellow, and like the whole flashback at the beginning was all yellow. Turns out it was just the setting on the iPad, and I was like, oh, well, time to reassess my thoughts. We're just doing a normal flashback. But Past Lives is a romance story about two people who reconnect after... They're both from Korea, right? They're Korean? I'm pretty sure they're Korean. Yeah, South Korea. There we go. And they grew up together, and then the girl is leaving to go and live in America for basically the rest of her life. And the boy's staying in South Korea, and they're like 12 or whatever, and they have a crush, but they don't. They're like 12. They're probably younger than that, and they can't really do anything about it, but they have fond memories of each other. And then we follow them like 10 years later, which is 10 years previous. I think it's in 2013, and the movie is set in 2023. Well, the main bit of it. And they reconnect on Skype almost. And then they end up meeting again in 2023. The girl is now married. The guy has just broken up with a girlfriend or something. So there's like this, will she leave her husband for this like dude she used to know 20 years ago, in this cool little like reconnecting story. And we meet the husband, and initially he's almost framed like a bad guy, but then the big twist of the movie is sort of that he isn't the bad guy. And she does end up staying with him, seemingly. There's like a scene. There was like an I wish it happened moment in this movie. I guess I'll talk about that in a second. But there are two interesting things about this movie. First of all, this movie was hyped up. It was a romance. It was about sad things. So I was like, oh, this is totally going to be a movie I liked, that I'm going to love. And then I didn't really like it that much. I just gave it 4 stars. This is another 4-star movie we should bump down to 3.5 because I just gave it 4 stars because I kind of respected it, just like Perfect Blue. It kind of is, but I do think I like it more than Perfect Blue. It's probably right at 4 stars. There are two really interesting things. The first thing is a descriptive thing that I really liked, that I thought it captured the emotion of a moment very well, which is sort of I think like 20 minutes into the movie, they're connecting again in 2013 for the first time, and they're sending each other like the first Skype messages after they've looked each other up. And sort of the depiction of the sort of nervous, grinning, like, ooh, I'm going to send it, and then getting a message back, and it sort of being a mutual, like you can tell both parties are sort of grinning and excited that after all this time they've reconnected. I've had moments like that, with not that long between, like not 10 or 15 years between like they had. And those are sort of indescribable little jittery moments. And the way they captured that I thought was like excellent. And I was like, oh, that's so fucking cool. I've never seen anything really try to capture it like that. And they did, where they're both just sort of like smirking and hiding it, and it sort of ramps up, especially when they get on a Skype call and see each other and stuff like that. But even just the sending the initial messages, that was very cute, and I liked that a lot. That was one of the two things I thought were interesting about this movie. Can you believe it or not? The other thing is the twist scene that I was talking about. So there's The movie knows what it's doing. It is subversive in a way. I guess this is another thing where I was like, oh, I used to really like trippy shit. And then I was like, oh, I really like subversive stuff. Whereas sort of with Perfect Blue, there was trippy shit. In this movie, there was subversive stuff. But it didn't grab me as much as maybe either one of them might have like a year or a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago even. Because there are like, so they're talking on Skype, and then the dude's going to come to America to see her, but he keeps like pushing it off, and the logistics don't line up, and so they're just like, okay, fuck it, we're not gonna do it, whatever. And then I think the girl's a writer, and she goes on some writing retreat, and she meets a dude, and she ends up marrying him. So there's a trope of almost like, oh, the girl can go and get another boyfriend whenever she wants. What a bitch. So there's sort of that, like, teasing this sort of trope. And then later, like, the dude isn't immediately interesting, and he's just sort of this white dude. And so you're kind of like, who the fuck is this dude? And then I remember particularly there's a shot of him, like, playing a PS5, where it's like, oh, he's going to be like the annoying, neglectful gamer husband now. And the scene almost teases going in that direction, but doesn't fully. So we're teasing like, oh, we're going to set up the husband to suck, and then the dude's going to actually come and visit from Korea, which is what he's actually going to do in 2023. And he's going to save her from this boring white husband. But it never really goes there. They do end up meeting. It's kind of awkward, kind of cute. Oh, they also do the thing where she's like hugging him and everything and very touchy, and it's another one of those damn fucking women mixed signals thing, which is very funny because this movie is directed by a woman, and I feel like that's a very like guy perspective to have those little things that'll irk guys a little bit, especially in the audience, on whether or not they're like, oh, this fucking girl. I don't know if that's just so entrenched in film language that a director or a female director has just picked that up, or if it's just not that deep and everybody picks it up. I don't know. There's a lot of like encroaching little tropes that are built on mini male insecurities that aren't so obvious, and sort of the way to portray, like, sometimes I've seen female directors try and do it, and it's like, oh, they're missing like the core feeling. They're missing something in portraying the core feeling that you sort of feel as a guy in these sort of silly, insecure moments. But she was hitting them all on the head. In the end, which I think was intentional to sort of subvert them. But there's a scene, basically, I think like the dude might be there for like 3 days, and it's like the end of the second day or whatever, and she's in bed with her husband. And he has this monologue about how he basically doesn't break the fourth wall, but in a meta sense he kind of does, where he's like, this is like a great love story, and I'm just like the dude in the middle of it who can't compare, and like it's like, and he basically explains sort of that's exactly what is happening in the movie. I remember even turning to who I was watching with and going, I think this might be the big twist. Like this, I wonder, and I did explain it. And I was like, oh, I wonder if this is like, if she stays with him because he is being perfect in this sense of sort of like the perfect mature adult in this scenario where he's not freaking out that she's basically going on a date with a dude she used to be in love with 20 years ago. And it sort of brings a realism to the impracticality of all of this, which in a normal love story movie would just be like, yeah, he sweeps in and they live happily ever after. But sort of the mechanics of like, she's married, it's a relatively good marriage, she's got a job over here, is she really going to move back to South Korea with this dude? She's got a career. Is this dude even that good, or is it just some nostalgic like energy, etc., etc.? And it's sort of like it's subversive in that sense. And I should have loved it, but I really didn't. Not that much. Now at the end, she sort of says goodbye to him, as it looks like she's decided to stay with her husband. And they do have a scene at the bar, which sort of like makes you feel okay with them not getting together at the end, where they have this, I don't want to say mystic Korean thing, because that sounds a little disrespectful. They have some spiritual Korean thing. It starts with a Y. I forget how you say it exactly. Where it's like, oh, in another life or in every life, there or in past lives, I think it is. Oh my god, tying it into the title, it's genius. Like how these two people would have always overlapped in whatever sense it is, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's destined for them to get together in the end or something. But then I think there is a shot at the end of like her, what could be her chasing after him in his Uber or whatever as he's going to the airport. So it's sort of a little ambiguous towards the end, I think. I didn't think I actually picked that up the first time viewing, but then I watched a YouTube video about it, and it seemed to explain that. So I don't know. It was neat. It was a little subversive. Maybe if I watched it again, I would like it more. It didn't speak to me, though. I was just like, it's okay. I respect the subversiveness of it. The rest of it, take it or leave it. 4 stars. Then we got a old Hunger Games movie. You remember the Hunger Games? I did, I think. This is another movie I saw in a theater, so that was pretty cool. This movie's a little long, huh? Yeah, 1 hour 157 minutes. I think this was initially also 3.5 stars, but I bumped it up. The Hunger Games is a clever conceit, especially structurally for a movie. I feel like I always thought the first 2 Hunger Games like this. The other 2 are kind of different. But I feel like I always liked the before the Hunger Games shit more than the action, because we all know I hate action, and action sucks, and it's for losers, and you're a loser if you like it. So like the little politics shit before, the games is always like my favorite part. I think Catching Fire is the best stuff of that. It's probably why it's the best one. I think it's still probably better than this one. This one's probably better than that first movie. Those other 2 I just haven't seen. I have, but I haven't seen in so long. What was I saying? Oh, and then this has the Hunger Games, and then it has more like political stuff afterwards, but it's also more coming of age stuff. That's okay, I guess. This movie's a little weird. Just looking at the poster, there's some terrible scenes with Peter Dinklage in this movie, where he'll just start a monologue in the most awkward fashion coming out of nowhere. And there's also the girl from Suicide Squad. What's her name? Viola Davis is also a little bad. And even the main friend dude who ends up getting executed, he's a little bad. I don't know. I think the core is the main 2, and I think they're both pretty likable. We got Rachel Zegler or whatever her name is. I know she's controversial or something. Did they kick her out from being Snow White? I don't know. And the dude playing Snow. They're both pretty good. And I buy their relationship, and it was cute and stuff, so... that was sort of the core of the movie, especially with the coming of age stuff at the end. And then he goes bad because he starts trying to kill his girlfriend that we like, and that's how you know he's the bad guy now. I feel like now obviously the Achilles heel for prequels is sort of like, especially for villain prequels, is like, oh, we know where this is going, he's going to be the bad guy in the end. So you're just sort of like, every element that's introduced, you're just waiting for it to be like, how is he going to kill this girlfriend that he has in a bad way that'll make us hate him by the end and tie into the other movies? Whereas I feel like it would be a lot more interesting if we didn't know. So I guess I'm saying spoilers ruin the movie. Can you believe that? What a hypocrite I am. I feel like the girl character is too good to be restricted into that role, and they kind of try to get out of it by having it be ambiguous whether or not she gets shot or not. But even then, she's just gone after that. And the way it sort of falls apart very quickly and stuff like that is a little like, oh, of course, we're doing the thing now where we cuck the interesting stuff in the movie to connect it to the other shit. There was also a bit of a soy moment where, like, I think as she's escaping, she confuses him with mockingjay birds, and it's like, oh, and then he keeps trying to shoot them down, but he can't. It's like, oh my god, it's like the real Hunger Games where he's trying to shoot Katniss down, but he can't. It's the mockingjay. And she sings the fucking song in it too, and it's like, oh my god, another tie-in. And she's from District 12. Oh, my goodness. So there's some soy moments like that. I kind of like all those soy moments, though. I'm not going to lie. I'm very conflicted on them. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool, whatever. So it wasn't ever too explicit, but once you realized it, it was like, oh, I don't even think I have a nose left. That was so on the nose. But yeah. I think watching this movie also made me interested in sort of the Hunger Games world, and then I watched some YouTube videos, and then I decided, oh, there's really nothing to this world at all. Like, it was just what's needed for the plot, and, like, everything else is kind of tacked on. And that's probably why there's only, like, one book in the backstory, and it's all about this stuff. Like, you try to look up, like, what happened, or the political players around this point in history, or even before this, whenever, like, the initial war or whatever was happening. And it's all like, oh, it was nobody, and we don't really have names for anything. It's kind of the opposite of, like, Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, where everything's been fleshed out, like, massively up until this, like, to this point, and everything's got an answer, an explanation, or whatever. I was like, oh, this world wasn't fleshed out as much, because it really didn't need to be for 3 books and 1 thingy. But I was kind of disappointed in that. Because there were some things that I, like, didn't have full context for, because I'm not that big into Hunger Games lore. Turns out there's not much. But I thought it was cool. I liked the romance and stuff. I liked the girl. She was pretty cool. The Hunger Games itself was okay. It's also such a stupid conceit that, like, to have things... Like, every time they would bring up, oh, we were drunk in college and we had the idea for the Hunger Games. And it's like, yeah, it's fucking retarded. But, like, you just got to go with it, because it's like... To be taken seriously and to have a world built around it, it is a terrible conceit. But for a movie, it's obviously a fantastic conceit. And it's sort of the conflict in both those things that's... like, when we're seriously trying to do political shit, and it's like, oh, but we have this death game for kids, Lamau, that everybody watches on TV. It's a little breaking of, like, what do you call it? Of the seriousness in which we're supposed to take this. And then Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage over here and helping with their weird monologues. But next was another theater movie. Oh yeah, Hunger Games, 4 stars. We got Napoleon over here. I gave this 3.5. I also missed the first, like, 5 minutes because we were late. Because I wanted to see it early in the morning, and it was a whole thingy, and you don't got to worry about it. This movie seems to not be too loved over here. I even liked it more than these critics did. We're making fun of Napoleon in this movie. I can't help but think maybe the movie was better if we weren't. I assume the serious worshipping Napoleon movie has been made 17,000 times. I've just never seen any of them, so this is supposed to be like a fresh take. I don't know, where do you start? Apparently this movie is supposed to be like 7 hours long or something, and that's why it sucks. Like, there's supposed to be more to it. I don't know, everything that was there I think I liked. It's just a little weird. Like, all the battle scenes were cool, I guess. All the Josephine stuff, like the back and forth and the hot and cold and the one's on top, the other's on top, sort of dynamic was fun, I guess. The movie looked really good. There was lots of violence. So what wasn't good about it? I know, I guess I didn't think the core thing was funny, of, like, Napoleon's a little dork. Lamau, Napoleon complex. I was like, is this really good enough for the whole movie? And I guess it wasn't, in my opinion. He came from nothing, he conquered everything, an epic that details the checkered rise and fall of the French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte and his relentless journey for power throughout the prism of his addictive, volatile relationship with his wife, Josephine. So I feel like a lot of people probably didn't like the Josephine stuff, but I thought it was cool. That's pretty fun. It was super awkward, all their courting scenes and everything. But that had an appeal to it. Can't wait for Sophia Coppola's show for Savine is a great review. That's cute. That's funny. I don't know. I guess it was like we got Joaquin Phoenix or whatever, and he's got to be a pathetic person in every movie he's in. Or the two movies I've seen him in, Napoleon and Joker. I'm sure he's got plenty of other movies where he's not like that. So yeah, let's take advantage of it. I don't know. It was okay. I might watch it again. If they ever do release this 7-hour cut of it or whatever, I guess I'd watch that too. The battle scenes were cool. I really don't have much to say about Napoleon, I don't think. I guess there is a conflict where sometimes he does get like the worship moments where he like comes back and everybody just wants to follow him again and stuff like that. I don't know if that clashed between that and the pathetic stuff. Like if that's a problem I have. I don't know, there's just something off about this movie. I feel like everybody thinks that though, because look at this 3-star shit. Maybe other people have a better fucking thought out explanation for that. Another movie I saw in a movie theater. I think the last one, yes. Next Goal Wins. This is my first Taika Waititi movie. I didn't see any of those fucking lame-ass Thor movies that you all like. The MCU sucks and is for babies. I haven't seen Jojo Rabbit. I haven't seen What We Do in the Shadows. I haven't seen this one. I haven't seen this one. This was a smaller movie, I guess. I think it's his first movie since the fucking... Did he do 3 Thor movies or just this one? Just 2. This Love and Thunder one that people didn't like or whatever. He made fun of VFX artists in one YouTube video, and that's not very nice. So this movie, you've probably seen this movie a million times. It's like the coach gets taken to a shitty team and makes them good. Though he didn't make them too good. But Dutch coach Thomas Ronningen attempts the nearly impossible task of turning the American Samoa team into a team from perennial losers into winners. And they win one game at the end against Tonga or something. It's starring Michael Fassbender and a bunch of other... Oh, Peggy's in this movie. Elizabeth Moss is in this movie too. So, you know, that's how it was sold to me. Unironically. But this style of this movie, I think on Twitter I said something like, oh, this is my first Taika Waititi movie. I think I get it now. It's a very specific type of sort of self-aware, I want to say Islander comedy, but Taika Waititi is from New Zealand, and New Zealand people don't count themselves as Islanders, just Samoan and Tongan people. They're the Islanders, right? I've been embroiled in these politics recently, okay? But it's a sort of type of humor. It'd be interesting, like, how an American would interact with this, if they have any... Like, I have a lot of social overlap with people like this, so I sort of get the comedy. Because a lot of self-aware comedy does seem similar, like this could be self-aware Marvel type comedy, but it's not quite that. It's like a different shade of that, which is probably why he was chosen to do a Marvel film, because they sort of seem like they would go together, but it would be a sort of a fresh new tinge on it. Like especially a lot of the comedy with like he's not the former coach, he's like the runt. Well, there is a former coach in it, and he's got some funny bits, but he's head of the league or whatever, the dad of the main player. Well, I guess the main player is the trans girl. But the other one, the boy. Oh, Will Arnett is in it as like the dude that sends him away and is sleeping with his ex-wife, which is Peggy. I don't know, it's sort of just a feel-good, funny movie. It's very like underplayed. There's not I saw a lot of negativity towards this. I don't know if people are maybe sick of the Taika Waititi style of comedy at this point, or they just think it was a smaller movie to follow up all of his other big ambitious movies. Like I think Jojo Rabbit is a big ambitious movie, same with What We Do in the Shadows, and obviously the 2 Thor movies are big. But I don't know. It's like this unique sort of New Zealand twinge. I keep saying twinge. Take on that sort of old formula of the coach coming in and making the team better. I don't even know what movie I've seen. Like, I can't think of another movie with that premise that I've seen, but I know I've seen 7 of them. Maybe they were just episodes of Pokemon or something. Or Dragon Ball or something, and Gohan's in school or something. But yeah, it's that formula. You've seen it before. It's a unique take on it, not tinge take. And it's kind of funny. It's pretty funny in points. There's some times where it doesn't land, though. And that's Next Goal Wins, I think. Pretty good. Then we got Love Actually. Now, the next 3 are a bit of a romance tinge. You can see we saw some movies I wanted to see, so now it was time for her to choose some movies. Love Actually is the best of these movies. I think this movie is very good. I definitely somehow heard of the concept, not of this movie, but of movies like this. And I must have seen some of them at some point in my life. Or again, maybe it's just spoof episodes in TV shows or something. Where it's a bunch of characters in a bunch of little stories and they all end up connecting in some manner or way in the end. It's a great little structural flex and way to keep the audience engaged. And I thought it was great. Obviously, the next movie, New Year's Eve, is exactly like this movie, except it's about a different holiday and it's American, so it's not as good. This one's very British and it's very funny and it's very cute and endearing and stuff. If you ignore some of the modern problematic lenses you can use to view many things through, like employee-employer relationships and age gaps and lack of knowledge and portrayal as this dastardly girl who's just trying to be evil and stuff because she's young and sexy and she wants the older husband. We're talking about Alan Rickman's second love interest. This one I also kind of technically watched twice. It was on in the background for a second one. I just think this movie was pretty good. Feel good. There obviously are like stronger characters in it. Like, I feel like this relationship is probably my favorite in it. And then you've got the old rock dude who's pretty good, and the Alan Rickman stuff that's really good. The Liam Neeson stuff is really good. But the language duo, the worst one is definitely the dude who ended up not being gay. And his like best friend and his new wife, and how he's like obsessed with her and creeping on her, but she actually likes him in the end or something. Those two aren't so good. Am I missing any? I feel like I just talked to every of them. I'm scrolling over these like, oh, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, Mark. I remember Mark from the movie. Natalie. I remember Natalie. There's a great scene that I'm sure everybody that ever talks about this movie talks about, where Alan Rickman's wife has like a breakdown because he realizes he's probably cheating on her. That's a great scene. The Americans come in because this dude's the prime minister, and this is like his, not secretary, but something. He works in the house, right? That's why it's problematic and bad, except it's good because they're cute. Look at them. She like swears all the time, and she's got a cute British voice, so it's funny. But the bad American comes in and sexually harasses her, and then we gotta beat up the Americans. That was a good moment. Liam Neeson and the kid that's in the Maze Runner or whatever, right? Their little thing is cute, and then it all comes together in the end. And then her kind of forgiving Alan Rickman in the end was cute. Oh, the opening monologue is cute, where it's like, oh, everybody's so cynical nowadays. But if you go to an airport anytime, you'll see that there's lots of love in the air or whatever, because everybody's like hugging and reuniting, and they're like, oh, I miss you, etc., etc. Which, I don't know, I'd been on airplanes recently and was going on one shortly after I watched this movie, so I was like, oh, that's a cute little message. There was some monologue stuff throughout the movie. Like that was really cute. I feel like every time there was a monologue, it was pretty good. Old Pops dude is pretty funny, huh? He's like shitting on his own song and getting it to 100, and then he tells his manager he loves him, and that's cute. And and then they sing at the end. And Love Actually was good. I feel like nobody needs this told to them. What rating does this have? 3.4. These fucking Letterboxd morons. I'm sick of them. What is this? I thought that was going to be Elite RE. That was crazy for a second. It wasn't. I feel like I don't have much more to say. Seeing Alan Rickman outside of being Snape or the Die Hard dude was pretty cool. What else is this fucking idiot in? Oh, look at this Harry Potter nonsense. We got Alice in Wonderland. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch whatever this is. You gotta watch some old movies with him in it, huh? Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I feel like I've heard about that before. Well, I definitely have, but I feel like we used to hear about that a lot. And I don't even remember it now. He's a lieutenant in this movie. It's crazy. Not too much, huh? All of his most popular shit is truncated at the top here. Disgusting. But anyway, out of Love Actually, we have New Year's Eve. Now, the people seem to hate this one. It is less... It's kind of the same thing as Love Actually. It, like, basically is. It actually is. Oh, that's pretty funny. Except it's about New Year's Eve instead of Christmas. Love Actually was about Christmas, you fucking idiots. You caught onto that. But it's American, so it's less funny. And it tries to be more, what do you call it? Endearing and sad. Like the Robert De Niro subplot where he's like dying and stuff and he just wants to see the fireworks at midnight and he keeps begging like his nurse to take him and then he won't and he's got some regrets or something. There was one moment in this movie that was pretty subversive that I actually appreciated, where like there's sort of been like the main dude, which is this guy, and then the main girl who is like she's managing like the ball drop on New Year's Eve in New York. It's in New York too. All right, you fucking catch it on, Chad. It says it right here. And sort of they both got like mysterious dates for the end of the night, and they're like, and it's like halfway through the movie and you're like, oh, this is the moment where they're going to meet, and they like run and they're both running and you're like, oh my god, it's finally the thing where the movie's gonna drop the bullshit and just say that, oh, it was these two, because they have like last year they said we'll meet back at this spot next year and see if it'll work out or something, and they just run past each other because they're not the two, and the girl runs to Robert De Niro's dying ass in the hospital and he runs to something else, and it's like, oh, that was clever. I liked that, unironically. I honestly don't remember who he ends up with in the end. Who the actual girl he was looking for that he said he had to meet up with. Did it end up being them? I actually don't fucking remember. The best relationship thing in this movie is Zac Efron, who I don't know because I haven't seen High School Musical and I've never seen him in anything. Whenever they had the older girl and the younger guy, I think that was Zac Efron and Sarah Jessica Parker, right? Because this is the girl from Scarface. Nope. This is the girl from Sex and the City. Michelle Pfeiffer, this is the girl from Scarface, right? It is. And she's supposed to be an old lady in this one. And she like quits her job and stuff and she has a whole list of shit she wants to do. And so that was cute because it was old and stuff. And young people, and I didn't expect it to actually happen, but it did. And he was mean to her initially, and then I think they kissed, so that was good. Then there's also the couple that gets like trapped in the elevator where he's like a little fucking, he hates New Year's Eve or something because he's been a shut-in all year and she's supposed to be singing at the thingy. They were kind of cute. Who else we got? What other ones? Oh, there's like Bon Jovi's in the movie. Oh, another thing about these is it's supposed to be like a bunch of very famous people together, and I think that's what rubs people the wrong way with it. Like if we scroll down here, we got Jeremy Jahns 1 star, Chris Stockman 2.5 stars, and Roger Ebert 1 star, because I think they'd be just, it's a bunch of rich Hollywood people jerking each other off for 2 hours in a shitty movie that only girls see, and we hate women. That's what that movie, that's how everybody that doesn't like this movie, that's what they think about it. At least that's what I'm assuming. But yeah, the girl from Modern Family with the big boobs, she's also in it as like in that Bon Jovi storyline. I think she maybe gets a love interest too at some point. I don't remember this one that well, is what I'm figuring out right now. So I guess that speaks to its quality, I guess. He's like a mommy's boy. I remember that now. But New Year's Eve was like Love Actually, but American, so it was bad. And by bad, 3.5 stars. Now, speaking of American fucking lovey-dovey movies, we've got A Walk to Remember here. Old, nearly as old as me, this movie. There's a little high school romance thingy. You've seen it a million times. The dude's like a little delinquent, and she's like the nice nerdy girl, but she's actually very pretty. And so eventually they get together after he has to get help with his homework, and then she was in the play, and so he gets punished and has to be in the play and stuff. But then she fucking has cancer, and she dies in the end. That's the twist here. And I remember, like, obviously being able to tell there was a twist coming, because there's like some scenes with her and her father where she's like, "You can't be in love with that boy. It's not fair," or something. And it's not just him being an overprotective father, which it is portrayed as initially, especially because he's like, I think the father is like a priest, and he's a delinquent boy. But yeah. The twist is she's fucking dying, and she dies in the end, so it's a sad movie. I thought that Fault in Your Stars movie was trend-setting with the cancer stuff. This girl's got leukemia in 2002. They were bucking the trend by quite a bit. Now, this is also making me remember that there's also 2 movies that I didn't put on my media checklist that I could have. First thing was when I was dragged to a Taylor Swift movie in a theater, that Eras thing, by a different girl, actually, than the one I've been talking about most of the time. I didn't want to put that on the media checklist because I had a headphone in half the time and I was trying, not to pay attention. That was pretty embarrassing. We've been gone so long. The battery is nearly out, or it's just hearing my Taylor Swift confession and wants me to stop. The second is Grease, which I watched even after this one, so it would have been between here. And I watched like 80% of Grease. Maybe even 90%. Were we drunk that night? I think so. So first of all, I was inebriated. Plus, there were times when I'm just being shown TikToks in the middle of this movie, and I'm trying to watch it, and it's her movie. But she's still trying to show me TikTok. These normies, chat, they're a little weird. They don't give a fuck if you actually like their movie or if you're actually watching their movie that they put on. And it's just ancillary to other stuff. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I didn't feel right putting Grease on the media checklist or on my letterbox or featuring it here. So those are the 2 movies that I also kind of saw that I haven't featured on this list. I don't know why I brought this up in the middle of Walk to Remember, just because I would forget otherwise. Grease kind of fucks with me a little bit because I'm like, I could put that on there. And yeah, but I'm not going to, right? And I don't think I'll ever watch Grease again because, I don't know, it was okay, I guess. But, God, they were rapey in Grease, huh? What the fuck? And I ain't talking about the place. I'm talking about the movie. I don't know. I like this cute fucking stupid high school shit, so I liked it. And then I feel like the negative twist does kind of ruin it. And I was like, oh, well, this movie isn't as enjoyable anymore. I don't know if I needed a heart-wrenching moment in this silly, dumb fucking high school movie. Landon is such a funny name. I think in my head, this is just Leonardo DiCaprio, but it's not. It's whatever this dude's name is. What else has he been in? Ocean's 11. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I know he's been in some things. But anywho, what about Mandy Moore? That's a name I've heard before. What else is she in? Tangled. She's Rapunzel in Tangled. Now that's crazy. The Princess Diaries. Wreck-It Ralph. Brother Bear. These are some Racing Stripes. Those are some crazy features. That's a name I've heard before. You know, you hear that name around. I don't know. I feel like he has a monologue in the movie where he actually says how much he likes her, and that's cute. And then I think they kissed there, and that was cute, but they weren't supposed to. It wasn't part of the script. And the movie opens with like them, one of their Like he's in a group of dude friends and one of them nearly dies or something, jumping off of something. And it's like, man, these fucking delinquents. I know, that was weird. I don't remember how that tied in. He's got a black friend that was pretty cool because it's 2002. Other than that, I don't really remember much to say. I feel like I was liking it, and then the last bit put a dour on it, and not in a way that I thought was too interesting. So I was like, whatever. She's dead. Lamau. What a tragedy. It was a walk to remember. And then we close things off. Now, I'm back in Australia when I watched this movie. I watched it like last week or something. No, it would have been just over last week because it had to make it on the last checklist. On the media checklist, because these are all movies I watched in 2023. I haven't watched any in 2024 yet. Which was Glass Onion, coming full circle in this video. What I thought would be my 2 plane rides, but wasn't. I thought this one was pretty great. Now, apparently a bunch of people are like, yeah, this movie might just be silly, rich people bad, but if you can get over that, I didn't get that vibe too much at all. I didn't feel like this was an eat the rich movie. Or Rian Johnson's such a hypocrite because he's rich now too because of movies or something. Apparently this is a big hang up with everything everybody wants to say about this movie. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't get that vibe at all. And I'm Destiny fucking abused over here. I watch too much Destiny content. I should be hyper aware of this eat the rich narrative and be mad about it or something. I didn't get it at all. And I didn't care about it at all. So anyway. The girl in this movie is a million times more likable than fucking stupid Marilyn in that first one, and I think that's probably what holds the movie up better. Especially when you start getting the flashback, like she gets shot, and you're like, oh, that's real sad, she's dead, and you're like, oh, her and Blanc's relationship was just starting to do a thing. And then they do the flashback where they're like, oh, they were in league the whole time, and then you realize it's like the twin sister, and you're like, oh, this is even more tragic. Blanc's gonna have to deal with this big thing where he got this fucking girl killed because he was bored in COVID, but then it turns out she wasn't actually dead, so we don't have to actually deal with the emotional impact of that moment. And you just sleep it under the rock. It's just like another Rian Johnson, like, we're gonna set up a cool thing and then not have to deal with the thing. But that's okay. Even after that, I was like glad she was alive, and I'm like, yeah, she's pretty cool. So them doing it. Batista was good in the movie. That was cute. I feel like I liked all of the characters in this more than I liked the other ones. There's the mum girl who's like freaking out constantly. There's the dude that runs the company. Edward Norton's character is fucking pretty good. I do like the twist at the end that he was just really stupid, and even the good idea he had to have the lights go out he just got from the conversation he had earlier with Daniel Craig's character. I thought everything about this movie was pretty cool and entertaining in a way the first one wasn't. And probably it all comes down to the fact that I like the environment of this one better because it's on like an island and there's water everywhere other than like suburban America, which seems like a nightmare to me that I never want to go to, especially with those big like houses on those big, I don't like that at all. But creepy palatial estates, I don't know what a fucking palatial estate is. That might actually be the thing from the first movie. Where there's a pool and a beach nearby and all blue everywhere. Now that's cool. And then the resolution is kind of okay too. They all just sort of come together. Oh, and I think the introduction was also cool before we meet Blanc again, where they all got this box and they're all trying to figure it out. And especially when they had like the screen divided, like it seems like a YouTube video thing, but they had it in an actual movie and the production value was a little up, and I thought that was cute. But anyway, I decided that Glass Onion was better than that shitty first one. And I think he's got another one coming out, right? I'll watch that one when it comes out. Knives Out 3. When's it happening, bro? Third installment in the Knives Out franchise. Daniel Craig will be in it. Now that's sick. I don't know if I have anything else to say about Glass Onion. It was cool. I liked the performances. The twins thing, I saw a YouTube video complaining about that. Oh my god, this movie uses terrible tropes, like the twin stuff. But no, it was sick. Obviously, this is pulpy, and doing silly tropes like that is the whole fucking point. Blanc flexing by solving his mystery real quick. That was pretty cool. I know, I'm just remembering scenes at this point. 4 stars. We love it. And I guess that's it. That's from here to here. How many movies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 movies. That's pretty good. We definitely didn't watch that many movies last year, and that was just in the last quarter of the year. So that was pretty good. Now, we will probably be doing a video going over my media checklist on Twitter, where we will re-go over some of these movies. And I think in that, I'm probably going to rank every movie I watched on movie night this year, because I did that last year in the same video. That you can kind of piece together where all the movies we talked about today would fit next to each other. Also, you could just look on Letterboxd to see the whole fucking thing. But where do we start? It's like, I think it's 1001 Nights upwards. So it's all of these ones we got to rank. Though some of them are shorts and some of them are other things they've added. I think there's like 20-something movies to rank or something. So that could be a fun exercise. So you'll have to stick around for that chat. But with that being said, that was our catch-up movie night. All the movies I watched, all the opinions, all the hot takes. I didn't like Perfect Blue or Past Lives that much. My goodness, everybody should watch Polite Society. Love Actually was pretty cool. Glass Onion was pretty sick. This Girl Fucking Died. And I think that's all we got to say about all of that nonsense. So we're going to watch more movies in the future. Movie night should be back soon enough. Maybe Saltburn, unless I change my mind and get an impulse to watch something else. You'll have to stick around and see. Secondary ENT content coming back for a little bit before I gotta leave again. Crazy. That being said, I think this is where we say our outro, huh? Support links in the description below. Thanks.